She'll go 300 hectares on a single tank of kerosene.
What country is this car from?
It no longer exists, but take her for a test drive, and you'll agree. Zagreb ebnem zloty gdiev. Put it in H!
The Simpsons Hit Run is a classic childhood game for many, and rightfully so. The game has everything. It's a perfect example of how to turn a brilliant franchise into an amazing game without just relying on the brand name. This game is full of Easter eggs and references for Simpsons fans, but is just as fun for someone who may not even watch the show. But to be fair, who doesn't like The Simpsons? The game is filled with charm. The cutscenes contain the comedy you'd expect from the show, the characters have dialogue true to their nature, and as mentioned previously, it's full of little references from the show, like all the cars being featured in the show, as well as the clothing items, the collectible cards, and even many of the gags. Without further ado, I'm going to rate the game based on my personal opinion, giving scores in several categories and a final rating. Graphics. Now, this game is old. It came out in 2003, so you can only expect so much from the graphics. Yet, maybe controversially, I think the graphics of this game are an absolute positive. The game just looks beautiful. The colours pop, the textures are great. Sure, it's made easier by the cartoon environment, but it just fits the universe perfectly, and even today I think the game looks beautiful. Sure, a remaster could definitely improve on some things. Personally, I wouldn't change much. I give the graphics a 90 out of 100. Gameplay. The Simpsons Hit Run is still a genuinely fun game to play. The races and various missions can be frustrating at times, but not too much so as that it's a bad experience playing the game. The difficulty level is pretty well balanced, the driving is fun, as well as several on-foot platformer areas. I would argue that there could be more in the way of platforming or on-foot mechanics, but the game is designed to be a driving game, so I can't complain too much there. There's something so satisfying about destroying wasps, collecting coins and cards in the game, making it extremely fun to try and 100%. Also, it doesn't take an incredible amount of time to do so I would recommend that. One kind of negative factor for the gameplay is the fact that the missions do kind of get a little bit repetitive, which to be honest, I don't mind that much because it's just fun to drive around in this game and collect stuff or destroy cars. But I do think if we're being strict with it, they really probably could have made the missions a lot more entertaining and a lot more varied. I think playing this game as a kid, it just feels so much bigger. Like, there's so much going on and there's so much to explore, and the missions are just crazy, and there's this never-ending story, and it feels like such more difficult of a game, so it takes longer to complete. But replaying this game as an adult, it actually feels a little bit smaller, which is understandable, as I say, because it is a very old game. I think you end up with not many missions, and they actually end up being quite easy, so you can get through the game pretty quickly if you just do mission after mission after mission and don't look for all the hidden items and such. And also the fact that when you do play the missions back to back and you're not maybe playing it as you would as a kid, you do start to see how it gets a little tiring and repetitive. All that being said, I do think that the gameplay, like I say, is really fun, and it must be for me to keep playing it again and again. But it is hard to pin down how much of that is based on my own personal nostalgia and how much is due to the game actually being a good game. So my score might seem a little bit high, but I think this is the type of game that I can just play the same mission over and over again without really complaining. For the gameplay, I would just say it's a fun game, 95 out of 100. The map and visuals. So Hit Run 3 contains 3 maps which are recycled and slightly altered throughout the game. The maps are equally beautiful, each depicting separate parts of Springfield that are, in my opinion, valid to the show and even give more life to it. There's no official layout of Springfield in the show, but these maps are how I would like to imagine it. The first map contains some of the most iconic Simpsons scenery: the Simpsons house, the power plant, the Quickie Mart. The second map is more of the shadier areas of Springfield, like Moe's Tavern, the mob hideout, the motorways and railways. The third map is more like Springfield's coast, with a boardwalk, a ship, some city life around the comic book store. The only criticism or improvement I could suggest on the map is perhaps the concept of combining them into one big open world map, or having more than 3 maps so they don't just reuse the same maps over and over again in different levels. As well as that being so for the map, there is a lot of great visual aspects to this game, like just being able to see things like the power plant in a new light, and Mr. Burns' mansion, and some parts of Springfield that you don't really get to see in that interactable 3D way throughout the show. Really just is cool to see, and I think it's the kind of thing that adaptations of shows in video games should aim to do. And even though there are things that they could improve with the map, like them being connected or having more varied maps, I do think that the maps for Simpsons Hit Run are iconic and part of what I love about the game. However, that being said, everything that is included from the show needs to be. I give the map a 90 out of 100. Soundtrack. The Simpsons Hit Run has an amazing soundtrack. with some music adapted from the show, a lot of new songs that really match the vibe and create ambience. Each character also has their own kind of ambient sounds which fit them well, from the trombone music that mocks Homer's movement to the saxophone music in Lisa's level. Everything has its rightful place. The clothes shop audio is one that sticks in my brain personally, and there's some genuinely cool rock songs on some levels, especially Apu's. Overall, I'd give it an 89 out of 100. Story. Again, this is an old game, but just so you're aware, spoilers are ahead for the story. Story of Hit and Run follows each member of the Simpsons family, and Apu for some reason, as they unravel the mystery of some strange things going on in Springfield. Wasp cameras and vans spying on people, Bart's disappearance in level 2, and some conspiracy with Buzz Cola. It's eventually revealed that Kang and Kodos were behind it all, spying on humans to make a show, and poisoning the water supply with Buzz Cola to raise Springfield's dead. Of course, Homer is in the end the one to save the day. Personally, I think Hit and Run has a good story, but it's not one of its most compelling features. It just gets the job done as a plot device to incentivize missions, most of which ultimately end up being side quests anyway that don't really relate to the plot. However, the dialogue and several cutscenes are full of Simpsons-style comedy, which does definitely add some value. I'd give the story a 75 out of 100. Replayability. So this category is weighted for a little bit less overall when I top the scores, but I would say that Hit and Run is decently replayable. It helps that you can go back in the menu to replay any mission in the game at any time, doing so with different cars that you might have unlocked later, so you can try earlier missions with better cars and see how different it feels. It's a type of game that I do play again and again, however that's just due to my personal love for the game. The story gives no real motive to replay the game, though if you didn't get them the first time around I would suggest replaying it to try and 100% the game, because like I said, that is a lot of fun. On replayability, I think I'd give it an 80 out of 100. Overall, that gives The Simpsons Hit and Run an 87.4%, and I have to say I do think that's fair. Although I love the game far more than that score might indicate, a lot of it is just for nostalgia's sake and as a Simpsons fan. Looking at the game more objectively, it's definitely still a very fun game with lots to do, and one of my all-time favourites, but it does have a few shortfalls, such as the fact that the missions can feel repetitive, like you're just doing the same thing over and over again, and they don't really contribute towards the story. I would love to see a remaster of this game, or maybe even a sequel, containing things like a more combined open world, a character switch mechanic more like we see in GTA 5 maybe, and a much better story that is really fulfilling, relates more directly to the missions, and just feels more like The Simpsons. That's just my opinion, so let me know what you think of the game or how you think it could be improved in a sequel. Thanks for watching.